What's up, chat? It's Thursday. We're getting tactical today. And it's exciting because we got a random drop of a bunch of pages of the new Militarum Codex, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. This is kind of like coming in concert with the Warhammer community articles that we're also getting a peek at. So we have a pretty good look at what the faction is going to look like. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that we don't quite know yet. Not all the data sheets have been spoiled, I don't believe. In addition, who knows what the points are? There is a points page from the Codex, but as we've seen a million times before, the Codex point pages mean nothing. They could be vastly different than what they drop as once the actual Militarum Field Manual update comes through. So we're going to talk about all of this stuff. We're going to talk about it with a little bit of a grain of salt, and we'll see how it goes. Thirsty Thursday, indeed. I got my soda right here. Delicious. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. We just got off a pretty tragic game over on the Twitch stream. I was a little sad. We rolled so many ones. It was brutal. But now we're happy. And we're talking about a new faction. It's gonna be sweet. So yeah. So here's what I have from my document. I think what we're gonna do is well, we have the army rules, so we can talk about that. And then we have some detachment rules, and we have a couple of data sheets. I think we talk about the detachments first, and then we dive into the data sheets. But if anybody has anything they want to be particularly, they want to discuss particularly, then we'll be able to do that. So yeah, hell yeah. What's up, everybody? Yeah. Anyway, let's jump in here. Let's go ahead and hop in on this Militarum Codex here real quick. So we got a couple of the stat cards from the new stat card thingamajig spoiled. This includes the army rule. I am Trevicus. That's everybody. So voice of command. So to be clear, I literally just got off a game over on stream on Twitch. So I have had basically no exposure to these because we were busy getting our face kicked in by Adeptus Mechanicus. We are playing. Voice of command. I don't believe it looks like has changed very much. Officer models with the voice of command ability can issue orders. Each officer data sheet can specify how many orders it can issue in a battle round, and which units are eligible to receive orders. Each time an officer issues an order, select one of the orders below. Then select one eligible from the unit within 6 inches of the officer model to issue it to. You can issue orders in your command phase at the end of a phase in which they disembark. So it includes all of the updates, it seems like, that we have had in the battle and data slates. The order is in effect until the start of the next command phase. Unless otherwise stated, a unit can only be affected by one order at a time. Orders cannot be issued to battle shocked units. If you become battle shocked, the order ceases to effect. And the other last thing is that only Militarum models gain the benefit of an order issued to their unit. I don't know if that is also existent in the current index, but that means that like Inquisitors inside your unit, I guess, will not benefit from the order, which is a little bit weird if you like move a unit with an Inquisitor in it, because then he goes really slow and the rest of them like run fast. He's like, no, I can't be bothered. Running? Never. I would never do such a thing. And I think that these are all basically identical to what we have currently. Plus 3 inches to move characteristic for movement move. Plus 1 weapon skill characteristic for fixed bayonets. Plus 1 ballistic skill characteristic for take aim. First rank fire, second rank fire. Plus 1 rapid fire attack characteristic. Take cover, plus 1 save, up to a 3+. Duty and honor, plus 1 leadership and adaptive control. Yeah, I think this is all basically identical. So that's good to know. We're looking at exactly the same. Cardio kills your gates. Yeah, Codex is going to be a little weak boy, a little weak sauce boy. He's not going to be a big pillow man like he is right now. All right, so let's talk about some detachments. So I have all of the stuff downloaded here, all of the leaks that we have currently. So we can take that army roll and roll it into a couple of some detachment discussions. As soon as I figure out where I put my detachments pages. Here we go, we found them. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. Inquisitors don't have to run the too important. Yeah. Can't be bothered with cardio. No way. No way, no how. All right. So, combined arms looks like it's basically combined regiment. Regiment models, shooting at non-monster vehicles get lethal hits. Squadron models get lethal hits against monster and vehicle. The one thing I don't know, and I don't believe that it is covered in the leaks that we have so far, and if anybody knows otherwise, they can correct me, is whether or not we retain the squadron keyword on our tank commanders. I know that we have it on like standard Leman Russ, but I don't believe that we have the datasheet for any of the tank commanders that includes their keywords quite yet. So I don't know if this will continue to assign to tank commanders, but I guess we'll find out at some point. We have the Death Mask of Valenius that looks unchanged. Drill Commander looks unchanged. Grand Strategist the wording has been reverted. It's an additional order in your command phase. I'm curious to see whether or not that's going to be updated. Currently, it means the current effect of the Grand Strategist enhancement is that you can order an additional order that battle round, so it or each battle round, so it can be issued in orders in which at points at which you are not in your command phase. So, for example, if you disembark a transport, you can still use your Grand Strategist order. You can't do that in this wording, but that could be updated in like a day one FAQ. I imagine that this was maybe printed before that change went through, because that was in the last update, I think, or an update a little bit ago. Reactive command is the last one. Each time an enemy unit is set up within 9 inches of the bearer, you can issue one order, not counted to the number of orders the bearer can issue in a battle round. Each time an enemy unit is set up within 9 inches. So that's very limited use case. It doesn't affect moving, and it will likely not affect deep striking because it is set up within, not within 9, which most deep strikers can't do. So you have to have either a close deep strike or you have to disembark a transport, essentially. So that's, I don't know, that's pretty good, but I don't know if I'm like that excited about it. But that's honestly probably the points filler enhancement. That's new, I believe. What did that replace? I guess I should look at the existing combined regiment because I don't know what we lost here. But anyway, we got some stratagems. Let's see. We lost Kirov's Aquila. So we lost the Lord of Deceit. Ooh. That is a big loss. This is way worse than Lord of Deceit. Oh boy. Okay. Well, you know. Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, well, it's certainly something. Stratagems. Coordinated action. You target a regiment unit from your army and a squadron unit within 6 inches invisible to the regiment unit. Orders affecting one of your units affects the other and vice versa. That's awesome. Whoa. So here's a sort of perennial problem with Militarum armies right now is that squadron orders, and obviously this could change once we take a peek at data sheets and see how many squadron orders we have access to, but squadron orders are so limited that it's almost impossible to get squadron orders onto squadron units without either having Grand Strategist or Lord Solar Leontis or both. This lets you for 1 CP basically, you know, just bounce +1 to hit off of a infantry unit into a squadron unit. That's so cool. So we can use like our random like throwaway orders off of our platoon commanders and stuff to then bounce the order onto the squadron unit. So we actually have way more access to squadron orders than we did previously. Sick. All right. All in. Reinforcements looks like is the same, an infantry regiment unit from your army that was destroyed. Oh, so it can't be used on Attilan Rough Riders, or I guess Death Corps Death Riders. So that is a big change to this one. That was usually like sort of the windmill slam. As soon as those units got destroyed, that was immediately where your reinforcements went. But it's probably just going to be Tempestus Aquilons now. Let's be real. Flexible command for 2 CP. Any number of Astra Militarum officer models from your army until the end of the phase can issue orders to regiment and squadron units. Oh, damn. For 2 CP. So what's interesting is that it looks like, so overlapping fields, I guess it's a little bit more limited here, but it's only 1 CP. But I think that this will likely, if we are not rocking Lord Solar, assuming Lord Solar does the same thing that he does now, which I assume he does, that's where I think a lot of our CP are going to be spent. This definitely feels like, and I think, obviously it's called Combined Arms, but this feels like the detachment that's supposed to be pushing infantry and vehicle play together. And this stratagem definitely makes that feel much better. So we actually get to use like our little Ursula Creed like unit, so sitting in the back that has 3 orders and can't do anything because you issue orders to your Datasheet jungle fighters that are all dead by turn 2. And now we can burn 2 CP and just order all our tanks to get +1 to hit, and that's rad. That's super cool. Love that. Sentinels, 2 tanks. Oh, from the coordinated action. Yeah, it doesn't specify infantry, so we can do it from Sentinels. That's actually sick. That's really cool too. Assuming Sentinels retain both Squadron and Regiment, which we can look at because we have all the Sentinel data sheets. Where are they at? There they are. Really good. Regiment Squadron. Let's fucking go, dude. Hell yeah. Fields of Fire is very different, it looks like. You target 1 regiment and 1 squadron unit that have not been selected to shoot, then select 1 enemy unit until the end of the phase. Each time your selected regiment and squadron unit make an attack that targets the enemy, improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. So if you come... I guess... So it does... This is interesting, because this stratagem doesn't have the requirement that... It doesn't have the requirement that they can both see the enemy units. You just have to have a regiment unit and a squadron unit in your army, is what it looks like, right? And then it gives you +1 AP against a single enemy target on those 2 units. So as long as you have, like, for example, 1 sentinel, right, who can be either one of these, and then 1 other of any other unit essentially that has, out of the standard, that has the standard keywords, then you're going to get the use of this. But obviously it doesn't affect your whole army, so 1 CP is much more reasonable for that. But still, in fairness, like 1 Leman Rush Demolisher is typically all you need to get +1 AP on, because usually that will kill whatever you're shooting at AP 4 or maybe 5. Maybe 5 ignore cover. And that's usually enough to kill something super dead. So having this be 1 CP feels like it's probably going to be a lot more efficient than we had previously. And the targeting flexibility is like so wide open too. You could just have like a squadron unit be like, oh, my fucking Chimera, like in the back of the table that isn't doing anything, is gonna overlapping fields. And then, or Fields of Fire, and then like the regiment unit is the Kazakhstan squad in the front of the army, and they just like shoot. And you also don't have to target the enemy unit that you selected, which a lot of these in other factions tend to have to do. So, for example, the like Mont Ka one, I think, says that like select 2 units and 1 enemy unit, and you have to target the enemy unit, but you get bonuses. I know that the War Dog one does that for knights, for Chaos Knights. You get sustained hits off that one. But this one is just totally flexible. That's super cool. Seems good. Seems good, chat. Yeah, it's very different now. Did Baneblade variants get squadron? That's a great question. I don't think we have Baneblade data sheets, but we can take a peek. I don't think we do quite yet. As I said before, this is only about... We have about 20 pages out of the Codex right now, so we're missing a lot of content currently. Inspired Command is the next one. Your opponent's command phase, you can issue an order. This used to be any phase, right? And now it's command phase only? Is that right? Inspired Command... Oh, no, it was opponent's command phase. Yeah, so this is unchanged. Yeah, fair enough. Stalwart Protector is the last one. This is instead of Armored Might. You use it in your opponent's shooting phase after an enemy unit has selected its targets. You target 1 Astra Militarum vehicle. Until the end of the phase, each time an range tank is allocated to an infantry model from your army. If the model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of your vehicle, you gain cover. That's extremely cute. Is it good? No. It's not very good. That's a very cute stratagem. I love the idea of this stratagem. But I kind of feel like this should just be an effect that's in the game. I don't know if you need to be spending CP on it. I don't know. There's going to be some, like a single use case for that where you have like a Chimera in the way. But a bunch of these units are like gain cover already. It's 10th edition, so half your units in cover regardless all the time. Or your opponent's ignoring cover because that like you almost have to have that in competitive 40k lists in order to be to be able to fight 2+ armor saves. You also would much rather have a defensive stratagem for your tanks, because the tanks are the things that you are actually valuable. You want to keep alive, and so having a defensive stratagem for your infantry is a little bit backwards. It works on any infantry, which is cute. So like it works on agent infantry, and it works on auxiliaries. So it works on like Bulgren. So there's going to be some situations where it comes into play, but this is like, I think it's more cute than good for sure. Damn Legion in chat. What's up, dude? Nice to see you. Interesting combined arms. This definitely feels much less powerful than the previous version of combined regiment. Fields of Fire, I think, is like... Fields of Fire is probably a side grade. It affects fewer units, but it's less command points, so you basically just windmill slam it every turn. Reinforcements was nerfed. Flexible command and coordinated action are cool, but we lost Armored Might. So, that sucks. And we lost Kira's Aquila, so this does feel a lot worse than it was previous. Still not bad. Lethal hits on your whole army basically is still a good detachment ability, but and I do like the focus on Squadron plus Regiment. I think that feels a lot more natural than the way that Squadrons worked previously, which was that you basically had to have Lord Solar or you went home and cried because you had no orders for them. But being able to order them with anything for 2 CP is actually sick. Isn't Go to Ground just better? Yeah, but this affects multiple units. So, you can... This works on all your infantry that are behind the target vehicle, rather than just the one unit that was targeted. So, like, you don't have to target the unit that your opponent targeted because it affects other units. So, if your opponent shoots at infantry, you can be like, 1 CP... That infantry unit gets cover if my vehicle's in front of it, and also every other infantry behind that vehicle gets cover this turn. So, like, it's a side grade from Go to Ground, but it's probably worse. I don't know. It's like cute. It's super cute. Yeah, more cute than good. like Francacy, for sure. Hammer of the Emperor is the next one. There's a question in there, it looks like. Malik asking about it, and asking ECL receive. The Hammer of the Emperor detachment is right here. Gonna zoom in on the detachment roll here. The detachment rolls each time a squadron unit from your army advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, add 6 to the move characteristic of models in that unit. When making an advance move, it can move within engagement range of enemy models, but cannot end that move within engagement range of enemy models. Awkwardly, can't move over enemy models, but can move through their engagement range. So that's not very useful. And it only works when specifically advancing, not normal moving. And also only on squadron units and not everything else. So you can't like run through people's screens because your squadron units are too big. That's weird. I feel like this was supposed to be able to go through enemy models, but they like nerfed it at the last minute or something. This feels like a totally superfluous clause to add in there. I guess it means that it's like harder to screen you, but you'll just have to like be a 1/4 inch over so that the tank can't move over your model. I don't know. That's bizarre. That's a super weird roll. I'm not sure how that is supposed to work. I imagine we have ways to get assault too, right? That actually found very strong. We'll see. Take a peek here. Calm Under Fire is the first enhancement. You can use it on a vehicle officer model. Once per turn after the bearer issues an order to a squadron unit from your army, you can issue the same order to another squadron unit. Awesome. That's great. That's phenomenal. We get a second order off of a vehicle officer. It's almost always +1 to hit. It's not quite as good as 2 orders, but it's pretty good. Indomitable Steed. Vehicle officer gains a 6+ feel no pain. This is going to go on a Rogel Dorn. Gonna give a Rogel Dorn a 6+ feel no pain. Let's go. Okay, sick. It's 18 wounds with a damage blank potentially, and a 6+ feel no pain. I guess it maybe doesn't have the damage blank. We'll have to take a peek. I guess we can actually look at the officer. We have the officer data sheet right here. although it's a little bit hard to see. It's very small. No damage blanket, looks like. But it has a floating reroll. It has 2 squadron orders, although we don't know if it has the squadron keyword itself, so it may not be able to issue orders to itself. So with the enhancement, it can potentially issue up to 3 orders, a little mini Lord Leontes, or you can give it 18 wins with 6 of Feel No Pain. Cool. And you get an Aquilon Optic reroll. Dude, Regiment Tank Commanders, holy shit. All right, guys. Let's fucking go. I guess Aquilon Optics on a Rogaldorn is not quite as exciting as like a Lehman Rust Demolisher, but it is pretty okay. You're definitely not that excited. Worried about it. 6 Rogaldorns, let's go. Yeah, they were really they really wanted to to push the Rogaldorn kit for sure. All right, can we get a little better peek at what these stratagems? Oh, I guess let's finish the discussion on the enhancements here. Regimental Banner plus 3 OC. What's the OC on that Rogaldorn tank commander that we were literally just looking at, and then I closed? OC 5. You can get him to OC 8. He's a war dog at that point. That's great. Okay. Although the cost will be important because it's dependent on how many vehicle officers we end up getting. Veteran Crew. Each time you make a ranged attack, reroll a hit roll of 1 on a vehicle officer. Man, all these enhancements rule. Okay, let's go. Stratagems. These are like all super playable. I don't know which 3 you pick. I guess like Regimental Banners may be the least exciting of them, because you can order for plus 1 OC if you really need to. But all of these other ones are awesome. And I guess Veteran Crew, you're probably getting from Sentinels anyway, so like, assuming that Sentinels still give reroll 1s to hit. I just had their datasheet open. Here it is. Sentinels, yeah, reroll hit rolls of 1. Okay, so you could maybe leave Veteran Crew behind. I don't know. But those are all great enhancements. Yeah, 18 wounds, T12, 2 up, 6+. Feel no pain? Yeah, for sure. Seems good. It's like you're basically like a Imperial Knight, right? You don't have an invuln save, but you have a better armor save, so you're like situationally harder to kill than Imperial Knight. Sick. Stratagems, final hour. Using your command phase, target 1 squadron unit from your army that is below half strength. Until the end of the round, ranged weapons equipped by models in the unit have hazardous. Each time you make a ranged attack, ignore any or all modifiers to the attack's ballistic skill characteristic and hit roll. That's nice if you're shooting in melee, actually. Although it's below half strength, so you're like, I guess you can hazardous your like all your guns to be like fire and ignore the penalty, the damage penalty, which I guess is fine. That's a totally fine enhancement or a stratagem. If it was all characteristic modifier ignoring, this would be nuts. But the fact that it's only ballistic skill and hit roll modifiers makes it kind of limited in its usefulness. Hey, here we go. Blazing Advance. After a squadron unit from your army advances, a little bit of an awkward timing there. You have to use it before you, or just after you move. Although, to be fair, you're not rolling advance rolls in this detachment, so that's not the end of the world. You get to shoot, advance and shoot. So we can be moving potentially, like 19 inches and then shooting. That is a hell of a threat range, chat. That's sick. And move through enemy engagement ranges. Let's go. Tactical withdrawal, you can fall back and shoot. Okay, all right. That's been always a problem with Astra Militarum armor, like, since 8th edition, is that their armor tends to get stuck in melee really badly. And, like, a real problem with the whole faction is that they have very few ways to fall back and operate normally. And this detachment's always like, nah, fuck it. Do what you want. I don't know. Let's go. That's sick. Okay. Crash through. Using your movement or charge phase on a vehicle unit from your army that has not been selected to move or charge, you can make normal, advance, or charge moves through terrain features as if they were not there. Can't move through enemy models, importantly. Although if you advance, you can go through their engagement range. Let's go. But this is another insane stratagem. This detachment looks sick. I guess it depends on what the data sheets look like, especially the officer data sheets, because it's very officer coded. But man, these enhancements for upgrades for vehicles are awesome. Furious Cannonade is the next one, usable in your shooting phase. Squadron unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy within 12 inches. +1 EP. Cool. Sick. That's great. +1 AP is always good. It is within 12 inches is a little tough, but we could potentially stack that with other AP improving effects, and it's really easy. You don't have to do anything to get this. Just be within 12, which you're probably doing anyway most of the time. So that's awesome. Ablative Plating is the next one. -1 damage in the shooting phase. So we took Armored Might from Combined Regiment and we gave it to Hammer of the Emperor. Always a good one. The downside is that it's 2 CP. I think this detachment might really want Ursula Creed, assuming that she does the same thing. Although I don't think we have her datasheet yet. But if she still reduces CP costs for friendly units, then we are going to be able to, within 12 inches, then we can potentially get a bunch of free CP here. Because we're almost always either overwatching smoke screening or ablative plating almost every single of our opponent's turns. And then we're almost always going to like advance and shoot or +1 AP our guys. So you get a lot. I think CP regeneration in this detachment is going to get a lot of value. The ability to move the tanks more quickly and still fire with them is going to be huge. This detachment seems amazing, chat. Or I don't know about amazing. Let's not say amazing. This detachment seems really good. I don't want to be hyperbolic about it. I do think that you are focusing very heavily on tanks, and definitely the best build for it is going to include some number of infantry. Somebody's going to try to make like 10 tanks work, but I think that's going to probably fall apart a little bit. But it makes the tanks way more flexible than they have been in the past, and that's awesome. This is a super cool detachment. I love it. Dorn Stonk's going up for sure. Yeah, so the chat, the points values, I don't think I'm going to put much stock into because I think they are likely to change. The enhancement points values, we do have an enhancement points value sheet. We'll see if these stay the same, right? Because these will likely change, I think, in the first the first update, or at least for almost certainly some of the unit points costs. I don't know if we're going to still see the enhancements to be exactly the same value. So I don't think I'm going to read too much into the points sheet right now. Do you need 3 more Dorns? You could run them, apparently. Let's go. Mechanized assaults. This is interesting. Okay. Each time an Astra Militarum model from your army makes a ranged attack in a turn in which it disembarks from a transport, add 1 to the wound roll. So it's like Bridgehead Strike, but it's a little bit wider on its like targeting of the detachment ability. Because Bridgehead Strike, I think, is literally only it's like regiment unit specifically, right? Let's compare it. Do I literally not have it downloaded? Chat, I'm a failure. I'm a failure of a content creator. I don't have Bridgehead Strike on my hard drive. It is Tempestus, specifically, that disembarked or set up from reserve, get +1 to wound. So this one is more... It doesn't give you +1 to hit. It only gives you +1 to wound, and it only affects stuff disembarking from transports, but it affects everything. So you could do it on, like, Ogren. If Ogren is still end up being really efficient and shoot a million times, then we could do, like, Ogren bricks that disembark from transports. We could do, like, the silly Crassus fire support build. You could do it on Torox units. They'll all benefit from +1. And then the Torox stuff that disembarks, assuming that Toroxes still have fire support, which I think we do have their datasheet here. Then we can use like Primera Psyker combos, and the Primera Psykers will also get the bonus. That's huge. Here's a Chimera. Where my Torox at? I have it in here somewhere. There we go. We found it. Torox has... Oh, it's called Transport Support. After a model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of the attacks to the end of the phase. Each time a model disembarks from a transport makes an ranged attack, you can reroll the hit roll. Oh no! Torox Prime got way worse. Shit. Well, that sucks. Oh, except that Tempestus Ions reroll their wound rolls anyway. Okay. So we can get full hit rerolls and wound rolls off Tempestus Ions just by being alive. And +1 to wound. Alright. The Scion combo is maybe better now. Okay. That's a little silly. Way to go, Tempestus Ions. You guys are ruling. Alright, cool. So we can still get hit and wound rerolls. We just have to get hit rerolls out of the transport instead of the wound rerolls, but we get the wound rerolls anyway because we're Scion shooting at something. I guess it's a little harder to source than just like doing the fire support thing. It's not quite as good, but it's close. All right, let's talk about enhancements. Bold leadership. You control an objective marker at the end of your command phase. And or if your transport is within range of the objective marker, that objective marker remains under your control. You obsec it. So it gives you the Cabalite Warrior obsec, where they also obsec through transports. That's actually sick. That's really cool. Love it. Especially if that's not super expensive. This is going to be a really good one. Sacred Unguents. Tech Priest Engine Seer. At the start of your shooting phase, select one transport from your army within 3 inches until the end of the phase. Each time the transport makes an attack, roll the hit roll. The transport? Excluding aircraft and Titanic. Are there any transports that are non-aircraft, non-Titanic that actually shoot good? I guess it's like important so that you can make sure that you get your transport support off. But I don't know what it's going to affect. Can we do this on a Crassus chat? But that just has like a bunch of heavy bolters, right? Are those things Titanic? I have no idea. Survey says they are not. But it's mostly heavy bolters. So that's not very exciting. I don't know what else is a non-Titanic transport in Militarum that has actual like attacks that matter. A Hades breaching drill? Maybe? That has melted guns. No, it's melee only. Yeah, I don't know. This seems kind of mid, I guess. Sure. Smoke grenades. Officer model game. Well, the Bears unit has the benefit of cover and stealth while it is wholly within 3 inches of one or more friendly transports. Wholly within? I guess that's so that when you move the transport and then disembark wholly inside, then you're like good to go.
Ryan G donated $2 through Super Chat. Allied Emulator.
Allied Emulator? I guess so. It's the Torox? Yeah, Torox is like the most exciting. Emulator, it's like a heavy bolter and two multi shots. It's probably fine. I guess it makes the Emulator like hit real hits and wounds. Non-Titanic makes me sad. If you could do this on like a Dune Hammer, I'd be all in. But maybe that's the way to go. That feels okay. Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Ryan. Appreciate you, buddy. Vanguard Honors. The bearer's unit can disembark from a transport after it has advanced. If it does, it counts as having made a normal move that phase and cannot declare a charge in the same turn, but can otherwise act normally in the remainder of the turn. This is always, in my opinion, kind of a mid stratagem, especially because I think what we're going to try to do is do Torox Prime stuff and get hit rerolls off of them. And the Torox Prime, unless I am missing something, does not have any assault weapons. So it will just not shoot if you do that. So that feels bad. We might as well just make them move 15 with move, and then call it a day. Like, I don't know. They're a squadron, right? I assume. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's decidedly mid. The number of times I've seen transports actually do that, that have that ability, I could probably count on one hand. Like, Devilfish can do it, and the standard Torox can do it, and Devilfish almost never do it, because then they can't guide, and they also can't shoot their burst cannon, so they're just like, it's fine. If I really need the breacher team to get into like close range, then I'll try really hard, but otherwise you just like usually leave that ability on the table. It's a weird one. Stratagems. Vox Relay. One infantry officer from your army embarks with a transport. You can use stratagem on the unit even though it is embarked. Until the end of the phase, your unit can issue orders. Even though it is not on the battlefield, it can issue orders to Militarum transport units, excluding Satanic, regardless of the distance to and from your unit's transport. Oh, cool. That's cool. Except, what? Does it... Alright. This is a little confusing. Does this allow you to override your normal order restrictions? I assume that it does. Because I assume none of these officers have the ability innately to order Militarum transports. So I think that the idea is that you can order to transports and you can also extend your range infinitely. In which case, very cool stratagem, especially if you can do it on 2 different things. That's actually cool. That's really cool. I like that. Allied Rhino. Yeah, we can get that hunter killer missile hit reroll on the Allied Rhino. Let's go. Rapid dispersal. In your movement phase, a Militarum army that disembarked from a transport this phase can make a normal move up to D6. Oh, sick. So you can do this. You can, I believe, right? You can use this to extend your range out of a transport that already moved. Or you can move an additional D6. You can basically advance out of a standard transport. The timing's really flexible, too. It's your movement phase on just a unit that disembarked. But it doesn't matter if you've moved before yet or not. I guess the question is, if we disembark after the transport moved... Okay, so a unit that disembarked from a transport that made a normal move cannot move further in the movement phase. So I think that it doesn't let you move off of a transport that has already moved, but it essentially lets you advance out of a transport that has not yet moved. Because you can disembark, move D6, and then activate and move in like your normal movement. It's just in 2 separate instances. So that's like cute, I guess. Doing it out of a transport that already moved would be cool, but it seems like the Cortals are preventing that. Devilfish can die if you advance as long as you take twin pulse rifles? I guess so. Hunter killer missiles always miss. Dude, I lost a... What did I lose yesterday to a hunter killer missile? I lost a Ballistic Dreadnought. A whole Ballistic Dreadnought. I just died. Do I think the Dorn kit's going to be sold out for the next 6 months? Yes. Yeah, 100%. As soon as you say, like Rogel Dorn Tank Commander, immediately that kit goes, like, becomes solid gold. I think as soon as you say anything Tank Commander, immediately that kit becomes solid gold. People love their tank characters. And you know what? I don't blame them. Tank characters are cool. Everybody loves tanks with character. And being able to enhance tanks is really sweet. Clear and secure. Using your shooting phase, Militarum unit from your army that disembarked from a transport this turn has not been selected to shoot this phase. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit within range of an objective marker, reroll the hit and reroll the wound. Very good stratagem. Whoa. Okay. Sick. We're doing it, chat. So we can... This is like... Basically, we can use to set up really strong attack combos that don't necessarily require that we be Tempestus Scion units inside Torox Primes. So we can do this out of like Chimeras with like the multi-flamer Catachin Jungle Fighter units. We can do it out of like Chimeras with Kazurkin squads. Oh, this transport is great. Do Kazurkin still retain Scout, chat? Let's take a peek. It's also any Astra Militarum unit from your army. So you can do it on like Ogren, right? So Ogren are still firing 6 shots apiece. Full hit and wound rerolls AP2. Fucking holy crap. Okay. And +1 to wound. Whoa! The damage from this detachment is nuts. This is like crazy good. You have to be on an objective marker though, so there is counterplay, but obviously you are forcing your opponent back. Yeah, Casterkin can Warrior Elite themselves start of any phase, so they can now do it out of transports. Holy crap. Okay, and they scout 6 inches. Combat engineers, less exciting. So they're just doing mortal events. That's fine. I mean, still a good unit. Yeah, Casterkin out of Chimeras is going to be crazy with this. Holy shit. Okay, this detachment rules. Swift Interception. Sure, y'all can see it. Go over here. There it is. We found it. Usable in your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback move. One transport unit from your army, excluding Titanic units, not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, and within 9 of the enemy that moved, you can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. So, okay. I think that we're looking for a way to get units back into transports in the opponent's turn. I think there is one. It looks like on the next stratagem, but this one allows you to keep your transports alive, which is really good. Sky Splinter Assault has basically exactly this stratagem, and it's always kind of a pain in the ass, especially if those transports are really useful, and especially if you can do things like normal move back to a unit, and then in your movement phase, like embark that unit and then leave, and you set up another like disembarkation combo the next turn, for like a battle round in the future. So these are always pretty solid, especially like if your opponent overcommits to try to kill a transport and then triggers a reactive move, you just leave. Now your opponent's overcommitted to kill a transport that's not there. So it just like makes the transport play even better. Transports are already really good in 10th edition, and we're making them even stronger. Hasty Extraction. It's a little hard to read. The glare is really bad, but here, I'll do my best. I think that this is basically the one, the reactive thing that repulsors have. Your opponent's charge phase after an enemy unit has selected targets for its charge. You target one Astra Militarum infantry unit from your army that was selected as the charge target. If you're not within engagement range and every model is within 3 inches of a Militarum transport, you can embark inside that transport. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is set up a situation where you run a transport forward. You like dump out a unit, like wombo combo out a million rerolls and blow your opponent up, and then if your opponent doesn't shoot that unit to death, then and charges you, then you can just jump back in the transport and then do it again the next turn, or force your opponent to kill the transport instead. It's always good. There's a lot of counterplay, but it forces your opponent to do it. End of your opponent's turn, move out. One Militarum for unit from your army, provided that your unit is not in engagement range of one or more enemy units and every model is within 3 inches of a Militarum transport, you can embark. Oh my god. Sick. Okay. This detachment fucking rules, chat. It's like Firestorm. It's like Firestorm Assault Force, but different a little bit. So theoretically, if you're good at transport play, you can set up you can set up situations where you either like overwhelm your opponent and they can't kill everything, or you can set up situations where you can mess with your opponent with reactive effects, and then try to get yourself into a situation where you can re-embark on your turn and then reset your transport like combos. It's gonna cost a bunch of CP. Obviously, Militarum traditionally does have a lot of CP to spend, so that's not the end of the world. But if you can do it, this detachment's gonna be really cool. I think it's probably more like technical than powerful. It definitely feels like the Hammer of the Emperor feels like has like more sort of onboard power. But this one feels a lot more technical. This feels very much like Renegade Raiders. It's like a little bit more of a less straightforward version of Renegade Raiders. It does all its damage in the shooting phase rather than being able to charge. So it's less good at taking objectives. And I think for that reason, it's not going to be quite as strong as other mechanized detachments. But I still think it's going to be very playable, and it feels really good. And for sure, you can get a lot of like super powerful like alpha strikes out of it. Like I said, the Casterkin getting full hit and wound rerolls out of a scouting transport that just blitzes up on turn 1. That's super good. And then they can disembark themselves and an officer. Officer orders them. They order themselves. Suddenly they've like they've doubled up +1 shot and +1 to hit and full hit and wound rerolls. Let's go. We're off. We're off, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. They don't even need +1 to hit, to be fair. Guard shooting with +1 to wound is gonna be cracked. Yeah, I think the thing to remember. The +1 to wound sounds really strong, like army-wide +1 to wound, holy crap. But it's only when you disembark a transport, which means it's also necessarily only infantry. So it's infantry sometimes. So like half of the time you shoot, you might get +1 to wound if you're an infantry model, but the rest of the army's not going to get it. So it's like, you win some, you lose some. Like I'm not going to say, I think this detachment rule is fine. I don't think it's like hyper broken. And it's like we talked about earlier, right? It's like a slightly It's like a side grade from Bridgehead Strike. It's probably worse than Bridgehead Strike's detachment ability because it affects most of the same units, but also doesn't give you +1 to hit. So I don't know. +1 to wound with mostly bad guns. I mean, you're +1 to wound with guns that are potentially full rerolling and also, are like multi-damage, right? It's like plasma guns, melty guns, and you're also rerolling hit rolls and wound rolls. So the +1 to wound, it is legit. You're getting damage out of that for sure. Mechanized, Scions, and Kazarkin, yeah. This feels very much like Bridgehead Strike, but we're doing it with it's only the transport half. But it supports the transport half better than the reserve half. And I think that's interesting and cool. Is there a strat for disembark and shoot? No, there's not. You can only re-embark in response to a charge, and re-embark at the end of your opponent's turn. So there's only re-embarkation strats, which I think is fine. And to be fair, the disembark and shoot is significantly less valuable in a Militarum army versus a Space Marine army. When you're threatening a disembark and shoot from like several Tempestus Scions versus an Eradicator squad, like it hits a little different, you know what I mean? Cool. This is a sweet chant. This is a sweet detachment chant. +1 is kind of worse than lethals, except that the lethals don't affect you against vehicles. Like the lethal hits for infantry it's like a super limited use case. And +1 to wound against everything versus lethals against very selected targets. Even if the lethals are slightly better, the +1 to wound is much more broad. I always see that like people are like, oh, but you lose lethals if you're out of combined arms or combined regiment now combined arms. I'm like, well, yeah, but like, do I care that your Meltagun has lethal hits against my tactical squad? Like, not really. And it's like giving you a couple of extra Hellgun shots at me, like wounds at me. But I never felt like the lethal hits off of the Militarum infantry was particularly relevant, unless you're shooting at like specifically heavy infantry stuff with like high toughness. But +1 to wound against enemy vehicles and stuff, that's like, ooh, okay. Now we're talking. Now my anti-tank, like my small arms anti-tank, wounds on 4s, that's big. All right, let's go. I think is that all the detachments that we have right now? Combined Arms, Hammer of the Emperor, Mechanized Assault. Yeah, so that's all the detachments we have to talk about. I don't know if we're missing any because I don't know what is actually in the Codex. I'm sure somebody in chat could elucidate us. But that's if we are adding Bridgehead Strike to that lineup, that's actually pretty cool. I do feel like there's a little bit of overlap because it seems like everything is kind of squadron coded. Like Mechanized Assault, we want to take transports. We want to take like squadron transports alongside our infantry. Combined Regiment or Combined Arms, we want to take squadron tanks alongside our infantry. Hammer of the Emperor, we want to take squadron tanks and probably also infantry. And I guess Bridgehead Strike is like the infantry detachment, but it feels like we're missing like a real infantry spam, like get your trenches out detachment. You're losing lethals on everything. Yeah, I don't disagree. The multi-melta tanks losing lethals is big because that's where a lot of their damage comes from. But I think you're gaining like a lot of, I don't know, like flexibility versus raw power. All right. So there's one on Warhammer Community. I guess we can talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's go to Warhammer Community. I haven't read this article yet, chat. But for the sake of completedness, I guess we'll talk about. We'll dive into that one. Is there Mechanized Assault is heavily armored transports. Hammer of the Emperor is armored spearheads. Combined Arms and Bridgehead Strike are being added. Okay, so we have 4 detachments for the army. It feels low. For Militarum? Militarum were always kind of like the super flexible army. That's weird. Do we not have like an Emperor's Shield infantry regiment or something? Bizarre. Okay, well, it is what it is. There's a stealth one. They talk about it? I guess they said it in a previous article. Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a stealth one too. if Chad is to be believed. But they just didn't. They didn't talk about that in the article, which is a little bit weird. All right, let's talk about this thing. It's underneath. Listen, chat. If the text isn't bold, I can't read it. Okay, that's just how we're at. Okay, it's good to get clarification that Bridgehead Strike is remaining though, because the that was actually an open question, like whether or not the new codexes would use the Grossmas detachments, because no one had any idea. And the precedent was, somebody pointed out this to me in a the other day. The precedent is that online releases or like supplement releases typically get overridden by their codexes. So this is actually a break in precedent, because in the past we had like faction supplements and armies of renown and stuff like that, and those would all get wiped as soon as their codex got updated. It's very cool that they're staying. I think that's actually really sick. And I think it also speaks to the fact that those detachments that look really trash probably were not designed for the current incarnation of that faction, which is very heartening. Like, can we please make like fucking Oathband and like Hexwarp Thrallband and all that trash like a little bit better? All right. So artillery support is the so this is the Siege Regiment detachment. Artillery support is the detachment rule. I actually really like this ability. I think it's probably incredibly strong, but it's also like kind of random. So who knows what it's gonna do? And your opponent has a lot of control over it, which I also think is cool. It forces your opponent to counterplay. But the thing that I like about it is that they didn't say, "Hey, this is the artillery detachment. Your indirect fire is really strong," right? Like indirect fire hits on 3s or whatever, and like it gets +1 AP or some shit. Like that would be like very silly and force like a really, really dumb game, like gameplay. I like the idea that the artillery regiment takes your artillery and puts it off the battlefield. And they're like, "Hey guys, you have artillery that's like 10 kilometers away that's shelling your opponent over the course of the game." That's super sick. So you select at the start of each battle round an artillery support that targets enemies outside 12 inches of your army. So your opponent is very incentivized to play really aggressively into you, which Astra Militarum typically love. They don't like it when their opponent engages you, which sucks. But what they hate is when your opponent just like hides the entire game and never actually like gets into line of sight. Because if the artillery is not doing a ton of work, then the Militarum army does nothing. So being able to force your opponent to get within 12 inches of you is a big deal. Awkwardly, I think this makes this detachment significantly better if you are going second, right? Because you can then move your army outside of 12 and then artillery support your opponent, which is a little funny. Start a battle round effects are always like that, and I like honestly wouldn't be shocked if this got changed in the future. Feels like a little bit of a WoG energy. Going first and your opponent's just like able to cuck you or do whatever they want. All right. So what are the abilities that we can use? Creeping Barrage. You roll a d6 for each enemy unit that is not within 12 inches of a model from your army. On a 5+, they get -2 to move characteristic and -2 to advance and charge rolls. Very random, but the effect is super strong. Basically artillery or basilisk hit your opponent. Incendiary Bombardment. This one's really good. Enemy units more than 12 inches away from every model in your army. And it is up to 3 in a Strike Force game, I guess. They lose cover. Seems good, chat. The models that you probably are not great at gaining cover are likely more than, or the models that are gaining cover are likely more than 12 inches away from you anyway. So just being able to do that is like nuts. That's super strong. Again, going second, pretty good. Your opponent's like, "Hey, I push to the middle." You're like, "Okay, I'll move back 2 inches." Strip cover, immediately activate. It's like a little weird, I guess, that like you could strip cover and then they move, and then you have to remember that they lose cover, but it is what it is. Smoke Shells is the next one. Select a number of units from your army until the end of the battle round. They gain stealth. Maximum number of units you select depends on battle size, so it's up to 3. I guess is the Smoke Shell. I guess I don't know if the Incendiary Bombardment is, oh yeah, it says the last round is that the number of units you strip cover from is capped up to the battle size. Yeah. Some stratagems over the top. Start of your command phase, an infantry officer model from your army. You can issue move up to any number of eligible friendly infantry, regardless of range. So you can move your whole army for 2 CP. That's kind of cute, I guess. I guess we're maybe trying to push like the infantry, like the ground infantry play, but realistically, I feel like the ability to strip cover from like your opponent's entire army makes it really good for tanks. I don't know. A little funny. That's a weird one. Callous Sacrifice is the next one. Usable in your shooting phase. One platoon unit from your army that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units. You can shoot into melee with it. Okay. These are all kind of like it's platoon only, so it's just like the basic infantry squads. And these stratagems are always like a little hit or miss. I guess no pun intended. Like oftentimes you'll just pull your guys out unless you're running like 20-man deathcore bricks with all the fixins. You're very rarely like stuck in melee for multiple turns in a situation where it matters that you didn't fall back. So those are kind of whatever. Minefield, start of your opponent's charge phase. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy unit ends a charge move within engagement range of the platoon unit you targeted, roll a d6 for each model in the enemy unit. On a 5+, you take a mortal wound. Kind of mid. Good if your opponent's low or has a low on wounds, and so 1 or 2 mortals is very valuable, or they have a huge unit and you're gonna roll a million dice. It's up to a maximum of 6, I guess. Eh. Oh, okay. So this article just has the recon element stuff in it. All right, fair enough, chat. There it is. Perma smoke 3 Dorns. Yeah, yeah. That's like the worst case scenario, right? But it's like situationally. I guess like you could flip the mode that you're using this on based on your seat, right? Because going first, being able to strip cover like on stuff far away is really strong. Going second, you could just smoke your own team. But also going second, you have more of the opportunity to strip cover from stuff, or it's a creeping project. So yeah, I don't know. I think I like the modal effect. It feels like it's maybe a little bit less powerful than it seems like, because I think all the restrictions are going to be pretty annoying. But it seems good. Oh, Over the Top is a Blackadder reference. I know what Blackadder is. I watch Blackadder, but that's like a World War I trench warfare thing. You would go over the top to charge the enemy trench because you'd go over the top of your trench line, and then they would shoot you with a machine gun and you'd die. What a fight World War I was. All right. Detachment rule. That's like so many. By the way, Blackadder is like an insane collection of like absolutely iconic like British actors, right? Is Hugh Laurie and like basically the entire cast of Monty Python. Fucking insane cast of people. That was in like the late 80s, early 90s, right? Is when that was out. That's like that must have been such like a fun time for British television. I don't know. He's like around that time you also had like Flying Circus too. Glorious. All right. My parents really loved that stuff, so I like grew up on like old British comedy. All right, let's talk about some recon stuff. So recon element, I guess, is the stealth-focused detachment using face paint, vehicle netting, and disruptive camo patterns to grant their walkers the advantage of cover when in the open. Cool, man. Ask your Militarum Walker Regiment models from your army are there walkers that aren't Regiment models? Sentinel load lifters. Maybe they're coming back, chat. Trevor's British confirmed. Yeah, you can tell by the accent. I don't know. Regiment models from your army have the benefit of cover, period, full stop, end of story. To be fair, mostly do anyway. While such a model has the benefit of cover for any other reason, improve the save characteristic of the models in that unit by 1. Oh, cool. Okay, this is really good. Awkwardly, it means that you basically never take cover from this army, right? I guess you could take cover and gain and be in a like inside terrain, right? And gain +2 base save. So your 5-up save dudes become a 3-up with cover. So like basically a 3-up with armor contempt. That's hard to kill. So I don't like that. Usually I'm like, hey, here's a bunch of AP0. What are you gonna do? And they're like, I'll lose 2 guys. Get wrecked. Get wrecked, onslaught Gatling cannon. I will not die. I refuse. Why would I be wholly within a ruin? It's true. Yeah, why don't I just put my bayonet behind the wall so I can gain a little bit of cover? Stratagems. Start your opponent's shooting phase. You can give them infantry or mounted unit 6-up feel no pain. And you get -1 to be hit if your unit is the closest eligible target. That's pretty solid. So you can get like a Catachin unit, stealth, and a 6-up feel no pain. So you make them really tough to kill for like random infantry sweepers. This is like this Detachment's gonna be a fucking pain to play against. Jesus. Everything is like a Sisters of Battle unit. Like you're just playing with like 60 and 70 point like Sister to Battle squads that are like running around. Everyone's like a little 3+ save with a bunch of like weird, annoying like statistical modifiers. Jesus. Scramble field, start your opponent's reinforcement step. Infantry unit can gain Omni Scramblers. Always good. Although the downside is that you have to use it at the start, and it doesn't work on rapid ingresses. So it's not perfect like coverage against Deep Strike, but it is good to have. It lets you hold down your backline much more easily. Why give an example? We know what cover is, and now people will think you have to be wholly within. I don't know. I think it's fine. Like that's the easiest example. Like you could say, hey, you could be, one example of gaining cover for any other reason is that you're wholly within a ruin. Another example is that any line of visibility from any model in the attacking unit to your unit is obscured by any part of the ruin. It's like much longer verbiage. So there's not really a reason for them to talk about that. Why not just say, I don't know, you're inside a ruin or something maybe. Scouting Outriders. Enter your opponent's turn and ask your Militarum mounted or walker unit from your army that is wholly within 10 inches of one or more battlefield edges, not within engagement range, can go into strategic reserve. That's solid. This is they're trying to push Outriders really hard, which I guess is good. You can push Outriders to a 3+ base save plus cover, like really easily. Yeah, I buy it. We'll see if they have any like damage improvements or accuracy improvements for melee stuff. Reroll wants to hit and wounded melee or something would be sweet for that detachment. Pyrovore's Ruinet can't benefit from cover, essentially -2 AP. Yes. Which is, I mean, that's true of every cover ignoring thing. But the problem is, right, is that like you could be like, aha, I've silver bulleted you, good sir. I can use my stratagem to give my unit ignore cover. And your opponent's like, okay, cool. Are you going to shoot this unit of like 65 point unit of guardsmen? And you're like, I guess so. So like, I'll pay a CP to kill your utility unit. Let's go. Value. And that's like, the downside is that most armies can ignore cover if they have included the technology on one thing per turn. If they're lucky, they'll get 2. And if your 2 things per turn you're ignoring cover on are your opponent's 2 like stupid infantry squads that they don't really care about, then I think that there's just a value for the Militarum player. Versus like, I could strip cover from your Lehman Russ and then actually kill it with my anti-tank rather than it being on like a 3+ save and I'm crying. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good detachment rule even if you ignore cover. If you have like army-wide ignore cover, like just like, Skitari, a bunch of Skitari are like, just like salivating at this. They're just like, I have an Omni-Spec, sir. Get wrecked. And suddenly all of these like effectively 2+ save duders become like a 5+ save and just die. That's very funny. That's very good. But if you don't have army-wide ignore cover, it's still going to be solid, but it kind of forces you to expose your valuable support elements into like killing stupid idiots. Value. More emotes. I don't know how to do emotes on YouTube, chat. I have it set up on Twitch, obviously, but YouTube, I don't know how to do it. Should we talk about some data sheets, chat? There's some data sheets to talk about. Let's dive in. I bet I could figure it out. We got emojis. That's different. Emojis are different. Like people are asking for GIFs right now. Or GIFs, whatever you want to say. GIF sounds bad. I don't know. I don't like it. Data sheet time. Death Corps of Krieg seem largely unchanged. Did they get a +1 on their Voxcaster if there are officer models within 6? Is that new? They have Death Corps meta packs, which I think is now D3+1. Is that also new? Do we get some bonuses on these guys? Yeah, so the officer thing is not new. That's old. The meta pack used to return D3, and now it's D3+1. Cool. Grim Demon Eater is the same. +1 to hit if you've taken any casualties. +1 to wound if you're below half strength. Which, to be fair, is always good for these guys, because below half strength basically just means you have your special weapons left. So you're getting +1 to wound on like melting guns and grenade launchers and stuff, which is pretty sweet. So Death Corps, pretty solid. Love to see it. Kazarkin, we talked about. They looked largely unchanged, besides the fact that their Meltamon's the same. The new thing is that Warrior Elite triggers start of any phase, or so they can disembark and still Warrior Elite themselves, which was always weird because they had such a synergy with transports, but you never wanted to put them in a transport because their like datasheet ability didn't work. So because you couldn't select them as like an order target. Pretty funny. Did the Marshal survive, or did he get legended? Legended, we don't know. We have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Because he's a Forge World guy right now, right? Yeah, so like it's up to G-Dub. I imagine that they get there's a Commissar character now, like a Krieg Commissar guy. I don't know if there's a Krieg infantry officer. They did have a little bit of a sneak peek on the Krieg stuff that I saw. Maybe we'll get a peek. Although, honestly, I think a lot of the armies that I've been seeing more recently are playing just the basic units. They're not even taking the Watchmasters or the Marshals, the Krieg Marshals. The looks like Commissar guy gives you target while you're battle shocked. Okay, well that's not that exciting. Maybe he's got more stuff on his data sheet probably. They got a command squad. Oh, maybe theirs in there. That's cool. All right, that's sweet. Torox and Scout advance and Detail Kazarkin with an order. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really good. And then you could give them full hit and wound rerolls against objectives. All right, champ. I think I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. So I think I'm gonna break for like a minute here. If anybody has any info on the command squad guy, I'd love to take a peek at that dude. But I think I'm gonna run the bathroom real quick. So I'm gonna go on a little bit of hiatus. One sec, chat. told me I had so much cat hair on me from when Inky was climbing on me earlier. How dare you? That's embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. Hopefully I look better now. Next time, point the camera at Inky. I don't know where she went. I think she went to look out the window. All right, let's go back to this this Krieg thing.
Blag Zombie donated $5 through Super Chat, _age : _ip : _smile : _judge : _harrieden : _hyperip : _dice : oops, value.
Value. Incredible. Blag Zombie, thank you for the super chat, buddy. The TCS was perfect. Let's read out the full code of every single emote and then also value. Anti-Riv, I look fabulous. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. I put on this hat special to keep my head warm and also because it looks great, I'm sure. Yeah, this is like they talked about some of the stuff that the special regiment units get, but I don't know if they talked about any particular stuff. Cadian heavy weapon squads get Overwatch on 4s if they're next to a platoon unit, and they get benefit of cover when you have an officer in you, which is cute. It's kind of a traitor guardsman sort of energy while you're standing on an objective. Final duty for the these little fuckers. These guys seem crazy, by the way. The little Deathcore heavy weapon squads. Well, you have a fire coordinator. Each time a gunner model is destroyed, you get a 3+ shoot on death. Okay, let's go. And then Kanachin heavy weapon teams get reroll hits and ones hit and wound of 1 against monster vehicles. And the officer gives their units assault, which is also sweet. Assault's on a bunch of flamer guys is pretty cool. Downside is that like once you put an officer into a unit, you can't put it into a transport anymore. So we can't like disembark in advance out of a transport to get like threat range, which is sad. I don't believe that we have a data sheet for them, but I could be wrong. They might be stuck on one of the side things here. So we talked about Kazarkin being cool. Combat engineers look super nuts. I think I'm hiding some of their abilities. Here we go. So they also 6-inch scout. They get a free grenade stratagem once per turn. I love that it's turn. So like the implication being we can do it on our opponent's turn, but there's no way to do that, so it doesn't matter. War gear abilities: remote mine. Once you're battled at the start of your shooting phase, you can select one enemy unit within 12 inches of the bearer. On a 3+, the enemy suffers D6 mortal wounds or D3+3 instead of your vehicle monster vehicle fortification. The big thing is that we can take them in units of 5. So unlike all these other units, which get taken in units of 10, the combat engineers, you get potentially just little 5-man units. And apparently, according to the points value that they listed on the website, they're 35 points for 5, which sounds fucking nuts. 105 points, you just windmill slam 15 of these guys? Like, all right, I'm in. Also, not to mention the fact that they're huge mine. It's a 3+ for D6 mortals, D3+3 against vehicle or fortification. It doesn't require line of sight, so they like indirect fire people for 1 million mortal wounds. Nuts. Super good. These guys seem amazing. And then they get a hand flamer, power weapon. They have trench clubs, just strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. Love it. You can have your auto pistol and club replaced with a combat shotgun, which is assault. They are only ballistic skill 4 though, to be fair. So they're not. I guess it's the old grenadiers that used to have a 3+ ballistic skill, right? GW just pumping up the Deathcore army boxes, yeah, for sure. They're gonna release super strong and then get a little toned down pretty quickly. Tempestus Scions looks like we got the with the reroll thing that we got previously. So it's previously they used to reroll hit rolls of 1 and then full hit rerolls if they target enemies on objectives. Now it's a wound rerolls if 1, and they full wound reroll if you're on an objective, which is a lot scarier for a unit with a base 3+ ballistic skill that can just windmill slam +1 to hit. It seems pretty good. I think these guys are going to be really strong, chat. Aquilons looks like they're kind of the same. They have the 3-inch deep strike thing, which I imagine will just retain the nerf to 6-inch on your own turn. So, well, hopefully, if I cross my fingers, that sticks around. Otherwise, we're gonna be in for a rough time here, chat. And then when it's set up on the battlefield using deep strike, you get to shoot with the sentry weapon. The Depressor Aquilon model is equipped with that weapon until the unit makes a normal advanced fallback or charge move. Is that new? That's interesting. They leave the sentry behind if they moved? That's actually wild. They didn't do that before, did they? If they did, pretty sure my opponents have moved around. No, that's totally new. Huh. Well, a little minor nerf from their original datasheet. That's wild. Okay. Cool. Love it. Tempestus Scions. Oh yeah, don't have deep strike built in. That's true. I think the idea is that these guys, like the Aquilons, are now like the deep strike guys, and I think you're supposed to bring these dudes to the fight with transports. It feels like they are very transport centric, and I think that they've just changed the focus, which I think is also okay. Because one thing that Tempestus Scions did, which was a little bit idiosyncratic, is that they like fulfilled so many different roles. Because you can take them in 5-mans, because they come in a box of 5, so that's important. So they could function as a utility unit, but then they also could be taken in 10s for to combo out the big damage combos. So they sort of they covered every base essentially, and not having deep strike I think makes them a little bit more reasonable. Where you're probably just trying to fit them into transport stuff, which is the more interesting way to play them in my opinion anyway. And then Tempestus Aquilons are supposed to be your deep striking guys, which who are better at it to begin with regardless. They just have to be taken in 10s. Ogrin we talked about, still great as always. We'll have to see what their points value is. Bulgrin I think look exactly the same. Yeah, I don't believe they've changed at all. Artillery team. These are the cool new Deathcore artillery batteries that have the little sandbags and stuff. What a sick model these things are. These things are huge too, right? I'm not crazy. This is the big artillery thing, right? Yeah, this thing. I think it's that thing. Yeah. Artillery team, yeah. Yeah, so these things are enormous, which felt a little weird because they seem like they're actually just sort of like an ordnance battery, I guess. Which is a little funny, but I don't know. Artillery team, T7, it's 3-up save, 10 wounds. So they're not the easiest thing, or they're not infantry. They won't just die instantly, but they're not very difficult to kill. They're also move 3, so not really going anywhere. They're a bunch of indirect fire twin linked, or a bunch of indirect fire heavy on the artillery platforms. You can either fire D6 strength 12 AP2 3 damage blast. Heavy mortar is D6 plus 3 strength 8 AP1 2 damage. Heavy quad launcher is 2d6 strength 5 AP0 1 damage twin linked. Or MRL is anti-infantry 3 d6 plus 3 strength 2 AP1 1 damage. The AP values are a little small here. They're regiment keyworded, so we can do overlapping fields on them to get the +1 AP. And in the artillery regiment, interestingly, we can scatter enemies with the artillery strike and then ignore cover, even though we're indirect, and that actually makes the AP1 and AP2 feel a little bit better. You force enemies to take battle shock tests when you shoot them, which is fine. That's an okay ability. There are some awkward situations where you play against chaos demons and you shoot them and then they heal, which is a little bit funny, but It is what it is. But it kind of, I think these values make sense because the weapons are kind of like super inconsistent, and they don't do a ton of damage either. So they feel like a little bit of an upgunned field ordnance battery, which I guess is like kind of just what they are, right? A little disappointing. I wish we had more like direct fire like just like tank guns. I think those are cool, but these are just like big howitzers. But they can't make the howitzer platform like too good because and then you just see like shaker carriage batteries everywhere. So we just get this like kind of mediocre attack profile. Strength, so yeah, strength 12 AP2 I think feels like the best one to me for sure. The anti-infantry 3 is kind of interesting. But it's only 1 damage. Maybe heavy mortar is good actually. Anti-infantry 3 actually doesn't really make that much difference because most of the stuff is winning infantry on 3s anyway. So I don't know why I'm worried about that. That's stupid. That one's bad. Ignore me. As everything else is like strength 8, strength 5. Like, what? Who cares? Who cares? It's anti-infantry. It doesn't do anything with an anti-value, so you're just wounding infantry on the same number anyway. It's only relevant if you're shooting like a custodian, maybe. And then you might as well just be taking the heavy mortar and be 2 damage anyway. Yeah, that one feels totally superfluous. I actually wonder if the quad launcher becomes like relevant. You're wounding most things on 3s twin linked, and then you don't care about the cover because your AP value is 0 anyway. So your target is probably saving on 3s regardless. But then you're not killing anyone really. You're probably handing them like 5 saves on a good day. Yeah, actually I'm not sure I like these things, to be honest. We'll see what the full combos we can build with them, because obviously we don't have all of the artillery detachment, but these feel kind of whatever. It's the base ballistic skill 5. The fact that they heavy and then wound on 5 or hit on 5s, and they have to then also be ordered to hit on 4s, and even 4s is not that good. Like, you're shooting D6 shots, average of 3.5. Call it 4 to be charitable, and you're hitting 2, and you're winning 1, and your opponent like has a 50-50 to save in most cases. You're like doing 1.5 damage for this thing, which is like not that exciting. Yeah, I don't know. Points detachment as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you could just play like a million artillery things. Oh yeah, I don't disagree. Those armies, I feel like have not tended to be very good in the past. Usually need to play combined arms, but we'll see how it goes. Field ordnance battery is the mediocre profile we remember. They have this like Malleus rocket launcher, D6 plus 6 shots. It's kind of cute. But also, oh, they can rock a heavy las cannon. Yeah, that's the anti-tank profile that we wanted. Strength 14, AP 3, D6 plus 1. Not indirect fire though. Seems fine. These guys never really saw play to begin with, regardless, and I think they got overshadowed by rapier carriers. Although I don't know if those are still going to be in the game, honestly. The Lehman Ruskies have returned. I believe that their top line profile is identical. It doesn't look like anything changed, although the picture is really hard to read. They can shoot with their Demolisher Battle Cannon within engagement range, provided no other friendly units are also in engagement range, which is the dumbest clause. I don't really understand why they have this like additional clause, because it feels so difficult to trigger regardless, and it's like really easy to fuck up. It also does not suffer penalties for hit rolls for being in engagement range. That's kind of cute. So you can be engaged and shoot out anyway, which is fine. Lehman Russ Vanquisher, reroll wound rolls against monsters or vehicles. I think these are all identical. Chat. Lehman Russ Exterminator. Can give +1 AP to something shot by its exterminator autocannon. It didn't get the cool wording where it can get +1 +1 AP even from its other guns, but that's fine. Lehman Russ Eradicator looks like got a big change. Ooh, the Eradicator actually seems sick. So it has the blast ignore cover gun. It used to also have a version of shoot in combat, which nobody cared about because its gun didn't do anything. Now it's -1 damage as long as it has the benefit of cover. These things are tanky, buddy. Holy crap. You can always get the benefit of cover if you just smoke them. So for 1 CP, they could just have -1 to hit and -1 damage. They don't do anything for the most part because their gun is like super trash. Strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage. I mean, it's ignore cover, so it's like basically AP 2. And they're also firing multi-meltas at you. So it's not nothing, but if you want a unit to just sit around for a while, these things are cool. That's a huge glow up. That's a really cool ability. I've just realized that I've been blocking it with my camera. That's a really, really cool ability. Scions are dead? I don't think that's true at all, chat. The big drop Scion squads are dead for sure. I agree with that. But I think that Torox Prime combos are going to be nuts. Smoke gives cover? Yeah. Smoke screen has always given cover. It gives you cover and stealth. So you can just, as long as your opponent doesn't have ignore cover on a stick, you can just like windmill slam that and call it a day. So that's like super cool. Ooh, if these guys are cheap, if this unit's like 150, 160 points or something, what does the leak have them at? Probably 170. 160? Whoa. They're not going to fucking anywhere, dude. Man, what a cool tank now. They went from 0 to hero in an instant. My poor Lehman Russ video, it's ruined. It's ruined, chat. I have to re-record my Lehman Russ video. Sad. Yeah, no, it's yeah, it also gives you cover. No, smoke is really good. There's like a very clear bias to the factions that have access to like smoke and grenades, because those stratagems are nuts. And the factions that don't have access to them are at a distinct disadvantage. And especially given the fact that you're already sitting on a 2+ save chassis, being able to get cover in the middle of nowhere is like a big old deal. You can also stack this with the addition, the -1 damage stratagems. You can be -2 damage in Hammer of the Emperor. Yeah, here's smoke screen. Look at that, chat. Yummy. Look at that. Those are the bunch of Dorn TCs. Yeah. The Dorns, to be fair, the tank commanders at least don't have a damage modifier, so they don't have like their ablative plating like the old version does. The tank commanders at least, but they do get those floating rerolls, so like they do a little bit more damage. We'll see what Dorns do. The actual Dorn datasheet does, because we haven't seen that. It might get gotten an update. Torox, you can advance and disembark, whatever. It's kind of cares. Torox Prime, you get reroll hit rolls out of a fire support, and they have more guns, which is cool. Torox Prime seem great. I think the Torox Prime is where the Tempestus Scions live. Reports of the Tempestus Scion death, I think, has been greatly exaggerated. Because I think full hit and wound rerolls targeting an enemy on an objective out of a Torox Prime has always been good. Now it's just you reverse the order in which you get them. All they did was like stop you from doing the like free roll drop units. We'll see what Valkyries do too. I wonder if there's a universe where Valkyries are really good. It's probably not this universe because Games Workshop fucking hates aircraft, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, full rerolls with +1 to wound. Yeah, from like multiple sources, right? Sick, super sick, super duper sick. Yeah. Kedian Heavy Weapon Squad. We talked about this one a little bit. You get the cool Fire Overwatch. You have to like pay for it though, and it's only 3 heavy weapon teams. So you're shooting like I don't know, 3 las cans that hit on 4s. Like, okay, cool, man. We might get one through if we're like super lucky. Catachin Heavy Weapon Squad. Reroll hit and wound roll of 1 against vehicles monsters. Here's an interesting thing though. The Catachin Heavy Weapon Squad does not have a pictured model. What's up with that, chat? They literally had one on Warhammer Community. Where's the article? Where's the article at? We just looked at it. This one? It's right there. Why not in Codex? Where'd it go? Pretty weird. Jam some Psychers and Inquisitors in the Scions? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be nuts, dude. It's gonna be super good. And especially given the fact that the Psychers are gonna get +1 to wound as well. So unlike the Bridgehead Strike version, where they just fish for devastating, they actually can do like raw damage now. Pretty cool. They ran out of pixels. It's camo. They have stealth, dude. You can't see them. Oh, poor Catechins. They get the snub because they're old models. They don't want people to know what Catechins look like because they'll like think. It's got to be a weird like branding thing, right? I bet part of it's that they don't have high res photography of the Catechin models because they don't want to like go through their like whole studio process and do high res photography of models that are like 30 years old. Because like who cares? And they don't want to pay the heavy metal team to paint a new one because it's gonna look bad regardless. And so like they're like this model is so bad that it poorly represents our brand, so we can't include it in our printed materials. Only on the website where it's already listed, which I 100% guarantee is the discussion that someone had, which is like when you think about it, extremely funny. All right. I think we got a couple more data sheets to look at. Lehman Russ Battle Tank. Reroll hit rolls, it's the same. I don't think it has changed at all. Chimera, you can issue orders embarked inside the transport, measuring distances from the transport. Pretty cool. That's the thing it did previously, but pretty solid. I like that. Always cool. Especially if we use the... I guess we can't use the new strategy, like the new combined arms or combined regiment stratagem, right? Because we can't target a unit inside of a transport. Yeah, you have to target a Militarum officer unit from your army, but you can't do that if they're in a transport. So we can't, like, for example, 2CP drop a squadron, drop squadron orders out of our chimeras, which is a little sad. But we can split, or issue to a regiment and then split the orders into squadron, which is fine. Commissar. That's Commissar Holtz. You can kill a guy to make a unit not battle shock, and while another officer model is in the same unit as this model, you can reroll battle shock tests. Okay. I kind of wish that they made commissars really good at fighting. I don't like that they have like the normal power weapon profile. Like, give them a 2 damage power weapon that's like AP3 and like strength 5 or something. Like, I don't know. Let them like fight some Space Marines. Like, it's cool when commissars are like the fighty guys in the Militarum like officer corps. It's always sad when they're like a battle shock manipulation unit because then they're always bad. That's my soapbox. Like there were melee commissar builds that you could play in 8th edition that were okay when you just started to take some of like the like multiplicative attack enhancements, but not anymore, which is sad. Acadian shock troops, looks like they still have shock troopers. Nothing's changed there. I don't think anything is different with these guys that I can see. Attilan Rough Riders shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. That looks the same. Death Riders are also here. They still have screening line, and I think we got to look at what their weapons did previously. They have a 2-shot las carbine, which is cute. A frag lance for D6 lance attacks, or a saber for strength 4 AP2. I think just on the champion, and then 2 strength 4 AP1s. It's a 4+ weapon skill, 3+ weapon skill on the frag lance. A million AP0 strength 4 attacks with lance is actually pretty solid, especially for a unit that's supposed to be the screening unit. Unfortunately, I don't think we don't have an officer for these guys besides the Field Marshal Dreyer, right? So we are probably losing the squadron commander, I imagine, because I don't think that there is. Is there a squadron commander unit? I think it is. It this banner guy? Who's this guy? That's just the officer in the unit, right? Because it's 5 dudes and one's the officer. But there's no attachment character, which is a little sad. So we lose the infiltrate plus screening, which was like the really powerful thing that these guys used to do. Now they're just like fine, I guess. He also grants all their weapons devastating, which is actually kind of relevant. The character attachment. Yeah, it looks like they're losing infiltrate, unless the obviously, like, big caveat, right? Because all of the deathcore resin stuff could just remain in production. Like, who knows? I imagine it goes away because that's been the way of things this edition. But like, I don't know for sure. Old Connoisseur model had a Power Fist. Was there a Power Fist Commissar? Actually, I have no idea. Oh yeah, there was a bunch of them. Look at this little guy. I remember this guy. This guy was cool. Oh, this looks like a recaster. I remember this little man. Look at that guy. There's a little Power Fist in his book. These guys, let me read to you. I'll read to you a bedtime story that'll tell you not to run away. Oh, there was also actually a bunch of them with Power Fist. There was also this guy who was the double sword guy. That guy was cool. Yeah, there were a bunch of Power Fist models. That's sad. Because the Power Fist profile, previously those would give you -1 to hit, and their weapon skill was always kind of mediocre, so you never really wanted it. It wasn't like a Space Marine Captain going from a 2 to a 3. It was like from a 3 to a 4, or a 4 to a 5, which always felt really bad. But now that Power Fists don't give you a hit penalty anymore, or a weapon skill penalty anymore, they actually feel really good on the little platoon commanders. Like having 2 or 3 2-damage attacks inside your unit just like randomly kills a bunch of jump pack intercessors if they come in, which always feels pretty solid. This Yarrick? Yeah, dude. I feel you. More Militarum combat characters. It's always super sad. You see, like, I watched the Tides, like, Guard and Orc thing again, and they're always, like, they're fighting, they're going toe-to-toe with, like, Orc commandos. And they're like, oh, they got the sergeant there with the power sword, and the commissar's like fighting the knob, and you're like, oh, cool. That would never happen though. In the tabletop game, that guy's fucking dead instantly. Like, is he gonna fight the T5 guy who's like 4 2-damage power claw attacks? No, he's dead instantly. But like, I wish that they had like a little bit more combat spice. I like it when characters can come back and like swing pretty well. We'll see what like Field Marshal Dreyer does. Like, he seems to make maybe he's okay. And Lord Solar Leontis is okay at fighting. He used to give himself full hit and wound rerolls. So like late game, he could actually late game really hard, which was really sweet. He wasn't as good as like real combat characters, but he was good enough that he would like kill your late, like he could anchor yourself in the late game. And I feel like Militarum's always been missing that. But that's kind of how 10th edition's been working too. Like a lot of characters like that have just been kind of have been sort of depowered, which is sad. New Ratlings, the new kill team. After they shoot, if they're not within engagement range, they can make a normal move. It is in your shooting phase, so you can't do it on Overwatch, which is sad. They have a Strength 9 AP3 D6 damage heavy weapon, or Strength 4 AP2 2 damage sniper rifles. Once per battle, when they're selected to shoot, they can use the Rattling Battle Mutt ability until the end of the phase to get lethal hits. That's the dog? That's what the dog does? I want to hear the game designer justify, like, dude, what's the lore justification that the dog gives you lethal hits? Does it like inspire your guys to shoot better, or like sniff out the target? That's extremely funny. You only get this stuff. Oh, so these guys work like Vespid, I guess. You only get the special War Gear stuff, including the Tank Stopper Rifle, if you are 10 models. So generally speaking, you're going to be played in 5s with just 5 sniper rifles. Because they infiltrate and then can like run away. Which is good. They're a super solid utility unit. I don't think anybody's that surprised that Rattlings, I think, are probably going to be good. He points to the weak spots. Also, he's named Spot. He's the spotter for the unit, of course. Oh, I guess, does he have... All right, let's find this Rattling. What's the Rattling unit look like? Does he have, like, ammunition? Does he give you extra ammo? Wait. How do I find them? I just looked up the Rattling unit on the Games Workshop website, and they were not there. What if I look up Rattling Battle Mutt? Oh, I found him. All right. Do they not have like pictures of the unit yet? I don't know. He's got some bullets on him, so maybe the idea is that he carries their extra bullets around because they're small, right? So they don't want to carry extra magazines, but the tiny dog will. I'll do it for them. They also have like a bunch of. This is a kill team, right? So they have like a bunch of extra shit in the kill team that's like not represented. Like we don't have traps. So traps would be cool. That'd make the unit really sweet. Like you could. They shoot in Scarper and then like set up bombs so you like take mortal wounds if you fight them or something. That'd be cool. Not today, I guess. Sad. It's in the Kill Team 2-player box? Really? Wait, this isn't the starter set? The starter set is Rattlings? No way. I thought the starter set was like the Tempestus Aquilon box versus Vespit. Alright. This is how little I know about how like 40k models are packaged. I have no comprehension as to like how you purchase any of this stuff. It's in. Wait, where do I even find? Where do I even find Kill Team? I did this before when we were looking for specialist games. I could not find where they were. It's in like other ways to play, right? More games, other games, Kill Team. We found it. It's in more and other, and we can get. Nope. That was it. You all? Kill Team starter. No, the starter set, it's like Space Marines and Death Guard. Killzone Vulcus? Oh, that's the Tempestus Aquilon box. I don't know where these Rattlings are. They're gone. They've disappeared. You can't buy Rattlings. You can't buy them at all. They don't exist. Yep, I don't know. I'm lost, chat. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's in the Brutal and Cunning box? Where's that? As much as where is Brutal and Cunning? Well, they're gone. They've disappeared. There are no Rattlings available for anywhere. We've broken the game. Are they in the Adeptus Titanicus, the Horus Heresy box? Is that the one? Ah, we found it. Narzug and Fimble TM. I don't think these models exist, chat. I don't think Kill Team exists. I don't believe in it. Rogador Tank Commanders is, I think, the last one. Did we talk about that? Yeah, we talked about this little guy. Oh, it's sold out? All right. As much as I like, I understand the people who are like, oh, I can't believe the Horus Heresy stuff can't work in 40k. And I'm like, I understand it. And now I understand it even more. Because, like, they're, like, adding all this Kill Team stuff to 40k. And holy shit, is, like, finding those units going to be impossible. Just 3D print them, chat. Just get a 3D printer. 3D print your Kill Teams. Don't have to worry about all this, like, stupid repackaging stuff. Sentinels. We get reroll wound rolls against monstrous vehicles for armored sentinels. It's fucking awesome. Sick. And we get reroll hit rolls of 1 for the scout sentinels and normal stuff. These guys have not changed. They're only units of 2. Tempestus Command Squad. Still gives you ranged weapons, sustained hits 1, not melee weapons. Important. Looks like these guys are the same. Oh no, the Medipack now just returns D3 Tempestus Scions to the unit at the start of your command phase. Sick. That's cool. I think that means it can't bring back the Tempestus squad leader that they're attached to, but that's funny. Regimental standard, give +1 OC, command rod, 2 different orders. But oftentimes you don't take the regimental standard because you're just like shooting people with guns. Cool. So these guys are basically the same as they were previously. Love it. Still issue 1 order to a regiment unit as well. Ministorum Priest. Ooh. Melee weapons gain sustain 1. Cool, dude. And you get reroll hit rolls unless your unit is battle shots. Okay. Not that exciting, but certainly there. Tech Priest Engine Seer looks like gives your unit an invulnerable save, normal stuff, and gets mad when you kill people. And then we're off to detachments. I think that's everything I have, chat. Yeah, detachments and then points values. But again, I don't think the points values are super relevant right now. Because I think these are going to change. They're like very different than the Militarum has them already, and we'll see. These were probably printed like 2 updates ago. So I don't think that they're very relevant today. But that's the Militarum leaks, chat. Time to delete the GW webpage in sports. Yeah, classic GW webpage. At least it still spells Warhammer right at the front page now. GW app updated with other grassroots attachments. Yeah, that was a couple days ago, right? That is helpful. The downside is that the app sucks and has a bunch of errors in it, so it's not the greatest place to find rules, unfortunately. If it's if it's on a website drop, I just use the website. But anyway, folks, I think that's all I got to talk about today. A bunch of cool stuff for Astra Militarum. I guess final thoughts. I think that the army seems very good. I'm hesitant to say that I think it's overpowered. It seems like a lot of people are kind of like blowing up and being like, oh, it's insane and broken. I'm not sure that that's quite the case. I do think that if some of the points values remain the same, there's going to be some problematic units for sure. Like the Grenadiers being 35 points for an indirect fire, like melee and mortal wound gun, and also like a scouting utility unit seems a little torqued. Like you could push those guys to like 50 plus points, and I think they'd be playable still. A scout unit to begin with is already good, and then also a scout unit that does a bunch of mortal wounds and also can be buffed by your orders is like, that's pretty useful. So that's probably a little bit problematic, but I don't know if that's like game breakingly good. We'll see. The new detachment seemed really cool. I like the refocus of Combined Regiment to like be a little bit more combined arms. We'll have to see what the artillery and the stealth detachments do. The stealth detachment seems like it's really sticky to me. If that has good offensive buffs, I think it's going to be solid. But if it's all defense all the time, I think it's just like a kind of degenerate stat check, which I don't really like. I really like the tank detachment and the mechanized infantry detachment. But I think I'm biased because those are my favorite ways to play Militarum anyway. Yeah, Battlescribe's dead. Battlescribe isn't being updated anymore. New Recruit's the best place to go now, for sure. Feels like the game's becoming slowly more lethal. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It feels like they're kind of like sort of pulling back on the hyper tankiness of like, you know, early 10th edition. Obviously, early 10th edition was still kind of killy because the factions were really broken. But then they fixed everything, or at least they depowered everything to the point where like it was very hard to kill people. And I think they're pulling back on it quite a bit, which I like. I think 40k is more interesting when you can kill your opponent's units. When you're just like slapping each other in the face like repeatedly and standing on objectives, it's like very boring. So it should be good. Yeah, I don't know. Hyped for Eldar? Yeah, hopefully the Eldar release is good. I think that if the final points values for Militarum are good, and I have faith that we'll get like a pass from the balance team before the Munitorum goes live for this faction. I think that new Militarum could be super cool and like very dynamic and interesting, which I think is a problem that the faction has had in the past. And I think that a refocus on pulling the focus back over to like aggressive units makes the faction much more interesting, and it plays more like other armies rather than being like, I'm tanks and artillery, blah, 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 blah. But I like that, you know, they're like, hey, you should play a bunch of, like, instead of just dropping, you know, gun infantry and tanks on your opponent, you're like, hey, you should play these like transport mechanics, and you should play like fast tanks, and you should play you know, these like aggressive infantry like utility, which I think is sweet. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Militarum Codex. It might be broken. We'll see, but I have a faith in that we'll get appropriate points before they launch. Although I think I also said that for Adeptus Sororitas, and then that super didn't happen. So we'll see. We'll see. Early 10th at Eldar Walkers throw mortal wound nukes into a pack of 20 boys. Yeah. Early 10th was like kind of like what's the first like 3 months of 10th edition like was basically a different game because it was just like it was basically entirely Eldar and Genestealer cults fighting each other, and mostly Eldar winning with like a side. There's like a side surfing of like Space Marines sometimes when the Oath of Moment was full hit and wound rerolls. So sometimes you got to play like the Desolator Squad Fire Support Brick or Fire Discipline Brick that would like one shot you from across the table indirectly, which was not even that strong because then Wraith Knight would look at it and it would die. 10th was basically beta until October. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Sure. We don't talk about Sisters. It wasn't real. Yeah. I don't like what they did with Sisters. Sisters was the classic Games Workshop like wild overreaction. It's so funny because like you can smell, you can feel the bias on your face, like you can bask in it because Eldar were like ridiculous, right? To release Eldar in the start of 10th edition were the most broken fucking thing we've seen like since like 8th edition. Like it was crazy. Like basically if you weren't also playing Eldar and your opponent was competent, there was no way you would win. You were just dead. And that was nuts. And they were like, oh, we're going to take a fine approach, like a very measured approach. We're going to nerf one thing at a time over consecutive like months until it's in line. And I think that the version of Eldar that they got to at the end was like, you know, a little underpowered probably. It got power crept, I think, towards the end. But like once they were like grilled in all the devastating stuff and they reworked devastating and they fixed like the fate dice and they did a bunch of points adjustments. I think Eldar ended up in a really cool spot, and I liked how Eldar played, and they still put up results too occasionally, which is sweet. And then the Sisters were like, but that took them like months, and the fact that the game was like suffering. And Sisters were like, "Hey, we released at too cheap. Our points values are too cheap, and the Miracle Dice mechanic was poorly thought out." And you're like, "Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna nerf the Miracle Dice mechanic, and also upcharge everything by like 40%." You're like, "What? Wait, what? Just do one of those things. Why are we doing two? Where did the measured approach go? It's gone." But because it's Sisters can be good. But someone loves fucking Eldar in the GW team. They fucking love that faction so much. It's broken all the time and always takes them a million years to fix it. And it's very silly. Votann launch was nuts. It was super dumb. But also like at the stage that they released, like 9th edition was like kind of a roller coaster. The stage at which Votann released the game was in like kind of a weird spot, right? Because like Tyranids had just come out, and Tyranids were like the stupidest thing in 9th edition. I'm probably forgetting of. I guess like release Eldar in 9th edition were like pretty toxic, but they felt like you could play against them. You didn't just die. If you went second, it sucked because they indirected you off the table, but otherwise it was okay. But Release Tyranids was like super dumb. And then Votann came out like in the aftermath of Release Tyranids, which I think everyone was like kind of just like burned out of fucking like the insane transhuman stuff. When these guys came out, we're like, we auto wound. You're like, all right, well, seems fine. Horde Guard is fully gone. I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't feel like I think that they're trying to mitigate their like Horde Guard lists, but I think that Bridgehead Strike is probably it's maybe a little depowered because you can't deep strike your Tempestus Ion units anymore, but it's probably very similar. So I think if you want to play like Horde Guard, you probably play Bridgehead, and it's probably fine. And it's like a bunch of Aquilons and some number of like mechanized infantry units and some number of like Deathcore bricks. I do think Mechanized Infantry Guard at least seems more interesting to me. I like that play pattern a lot more personally. Recon Detachment? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea because we only know like half of the detachment, so it could be good. It definitely like the mass like high armor save guard infantry seems like super annoying to kill. So it's probably gonna be pretty solid. but we'll see. Release Custodes, Tau, and then Tyranid sent 9th into a spiral for 6 months. Yeah. Custodes, I think, were fine on release. But you, like, that was the T5 S2 pods, or Season 5 finals, I think. Was Devin Swan versus, from WTC Canada, versus Jonathan, who's also, ironically, he's in Canada. I don't know if he's on WTC, though. But that was like release Tau versus Custodes, like right at the start, and it was like the two codexes in power level were so night and day. People complain about Custodes because I think people like to complain about Custodes, but oftentimes there's a bunch of counterplay and they're actually not that good because they're very elite. And you watch that game and you're like, holy fuck! Out like is Custodes supposed to be broken? Because this faction is getting decimated. It was like there was no game there. It was like 2 turns and the game was over. Fucking horrible. Release Tau was very stupid in that edition. It was also very boring. It was like broadsides just like wandering around and shooting you to death. Like it didn't do anything interesting. When Tau was like really good, but also it's like because they're in your face with like breacher teams and stuff, that's kind of cool. But when Tau was like, I shoot from the other side of the table, you're like, all right, cool, man. They used to run that unit that was like, it was like 5-up lethal hits. Or it was lethal hits, full hit rerolls from Shadow Sun, I guess, and then like indirect fire, with a bunch of indirect fire shots. Because it was airbursting fragmentation projectors. That's what it was. It was AFPs. I think there was an enhancement for lethal hits, or the equivalent there in the previous in 9th edition, and then you could give them full hit rerolls. And so they would just like wander around and be like, just nuke a unit from like out of line of sight every turn. You're like, what do you do against this? Like, I don't know, just die. Get wrecked. Missed 9th Custodes. Screen them out with a 60-point infantry squad for 9 turns. Yeah, they're like Virtus Praetors would come for you, right? But it was like, yeah, it was very playable. You could play against it a lot. Oh, all right, chat. I think we're going to call that a stream. I'm a little sleepy. We've been streaming for like 6 hours, so I'm sleepy. Thanks, everyone, for coming and hanging out with me. I will be live on YouTube next week. I think we're going to be back to the normally scheduled YouTube shows next week. I was just out of it this week, so I didn't get on. Unfortunately, I picked up a cold from Everwinter, so I was like dead. Monday, I finished the Best Armies video super late, and then Tuesday, I like literally just passed out all day. But next week, we'll get the Best Armies videos going. I have a pod finals I'm playing in tomorrow afternoon. We're playing Space Marines, so that's exciting. And then I also have a game scheduled on Monday as well. So that's what's going on. But thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. And I'll see you in the next one. Keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming. And yeah, that's it. Bye.